Good morning, good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Deputy Milton. How are you?
I'm well. We're going first with position 16,
15?
1-6.
1-6. Okay, got it.
Dr.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and this is going to be the expedited accusation calendar. This is with the State Court of Fulton County, and it's for today, October 14th, 2023. This is a list of misdemeanor cases in which individuals were recently arrested and brought to the Fulton County Jail. Soon after being booked in, they were formally accused by the Prosecutor Division, which is the Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County. Oh dear. And so this would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. Once I call your name, we will be addressing your case. I will inform you of the accusation number, what are the charges that have been brought against you, appoint counsel to represent you if you cannot afford your own attorney, and also to give you a court date if it's relevant. Let's see, Mr. Jordan or Miss Champion, what's our next court date, please?
The SAP reset date is going to be October the 26th.
For some of the cases, the matter is going to be reset to October 26th at 9 a.m. Please note that that calendar is also going to be addressed via Zoom. So if anyone wants to attend that calendar, they would need to get a Zoom link from the clerk's office, and it's not going to be an in-person proceeding. Okay, position number 16, I have case number 23 CR 62008. In that case, it is State versus Bertha Williams. Ms. Williams, I would like to remind you that you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you say during the course of these proceedings, your statements can and will be used against you. This virtual proceeding is not only being recorded, but also live streamed. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. And presently, you're going to be represented by Ms. J. Kim. Ms. Bertha Williams is accused of terroristic threats and acts and criminal trespass from October 12, 2023. Mr. Howard?
49 total. Last arrest was 2022 trespass. She got a couple of those from 2022, 2021 failure to appear probation, 2021 PR conviction, 2020 trespass conviction, and probation violations and more FTAs in the history.
All right, thank you. Ms. Reddick, good afternoon. Yes.
Afternoon, Judge. This incident is alleged to have occurred on October 12th, 2023. Incident location is 38 Peachtree Center Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, in Fulton County. It is on the campus of Georgia State University at Langdale Hall. Your Honor, the facts as we would have to prove them is that officers responded to the above location. They met with the defendant, Ms. Williams, who had previously been told not to return to the property of Georgia State University. They asked her to leave several times. Ms. Williams became very aggressive, yelling, "F you guys, I'm going to kill you." Your Honor, I thought Ms. Kim may have asked for a breakout room for this client because we do have some concerns along those lines. Ms. Kim is nodding. We can't hear you, Ms. Kim.
I should have asked for MH concern here.
We have the same, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Kim, are you also representing position 17?
Mr. Hold on, please, Your Honor. 17 is.
Shuji Zheng?
Well, yes, and yet I thought she was bonded out.
Has she been released? Okay.
I believe so, Your Honor. She posted bonds.
All right. Mr. Jordan, could you place Ms. Kim, Ms. Reddick, and me in a breakout, please?
Your Honor.
I also need to go.
Just the three of us. You can put ACDC in there as well. All right, we are back in the main session and we're going to resume the initial appearance calendar, the expedited accusation calendar. Again, I remind defendants who are charged and accused with misdemeanor offenses, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say during the course of this virtual court proceeding that's also being recorded and live streamed, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one of our defense counsel from the public defender's office or our conflict defense list will represent you. So please let your attorney speak for you. Courtroom 2, do we have a Mr. Porter in the courtroom?
Judge, what was that bond amount?
For which one?
The breakout.
Okay, I'll give you a rundown real fast. Give me just a moment.
Okay.
Courtroom 2, is Mr. Porter available?
Right in front of you, Judge.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Howard, we just addressed position 16, and the bond on the terroristic threats is 1,500. On the criminal trespass is 1,000. It's a 2,500 surety bond. And with the stay away from Georgia Tech, next court date is October 26th.
Thank you.
The other matter that we addressed in which appearance has been waived is position number 11, Hien Nguyen, and that is a charge of simple battery. The bond is set at $2,000 surety, and the next court date is October 26th to stay away from 865 North Main Street in Alpharetta and have no contact with 2 middle initial U, last name Nguyen, Nguyen. All right, so we are addressing position number 12, State v. Quinion Potter, case number 23 CR 006220D. Mr. Potter, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. J. Kim. Ms. Kim we've had a sidebar with the prosecutor and your attorney. Your bond is going to be set as follows. On the willful obstruction of an officer is going to be 1,000. On the criminal trespass is 1,000. The total bond is a $2,000 surety bond. And your next court date is going to be October 26th at 9 a.m. We are going to reset this new case, which is 23 CR 006220D. And we're going to reset your other open case, which is 23 CR 005765D. Both cases are going to be reset to the SAP calendar on October 26th. Thank you. Oh, and stay away from all Georgia State property. I'm sorry, courtroom 2 is on mute. I cannot hear what.
May I ask you a question, ma'am?
Yes,
No,
Mr. Potter.
I strongly recommend
I'm
you.
coming from
Just a
Louisiana.
minute, just a minute. Listen to your attorney first. Listen to your attorney. Ms. Kim?
Mr. Potter, please do not say anything that will hurt your case.
It's
You
not
have
anything that-
remained silent.
It's not anything that will hurt my case. I have the right to remain silent. I don't have to. But Your Honor, excuse me, may I represent myself then? Ma'am, this is what the problem is. I'm coming from Louisiana, correct, ma'am? New Orleans, where I was attending school in St. Rose for ITT Tech. I was visiting the campus, ma'am, with another student, and they're supposed to be giving me some, because I was like, well, this is what happened. And the student tells me, he said, we've had some other students who've had that problem also, Quinn. And he said, well, I'll bring you up there as a guest so that you can go ahead and enroll. Because I was a student in St. Rose. I'm 30, what?
Mr. Potter, can you identify that other person to your attorney?
I'm just Jesse McClendon.
All right. As soon as your attorney gets in touch with that individual, we will readdress your case on October 26th. In the meantime, you
so I can go to school.
In the meantime, you do have a surety bond. So
Yes.
once you make bond, you can definitely have a right to defend your case, either
ma'am.
with the assistance of the public defense counsel or
Isn't that one of my
with
basic
your own
rights?
private counsel.
Yes, ma'am. Isn't it one
And
of
please
my
keep in
basic-
mind that you also have another open pending case in which your signature bond is most likely going to be revoked if it was through pretrial. I'm not certain.
I have another case?
Yes, sir. 23 CR 005765D, in which you were given a release bond and you were required to stay away from the Chevron gas station.
Oh, no, ma'am, I didn't, that's already been,
No, it's not.
I have a release bond for that?
You had a release bond. So we will address both cases on October 26th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Because just now, so I can get help for it as a professional. Oh,
Well, that's poetic. All right, next case, please.
Number 14 is Gordon.
Thank you. I'm sorry, could you give me that position number again?
14.
All right, I have Stephen Louis Weston, is that correct?
No, it's not there. Yes, no, I'm sorry. No.
Did you say Gordon?
Yeah, number 6, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
My mistake. Number 6.
No worries at all. Okay. This is Alicia Gordon, case number 23 CR 6217B. Ms. Gordon has been charged with battery, family violence from a October 13th, 2023 incident. Case number is 23 CR 6217B. Ms. Gordon, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney today is going to be Ms. Maureen McLeod. And with regards to Ms. Gordon, I understand this is a 4th arrest.
Last was 07 fade to appear, battery, simple battery.
All
This
right,
was a jail recommendation.
all right, thank you. And before I proceed with Ms. Gordon, I have a interpreter from Mandarin. Ms. McLeod or Ms. Kim or any other defense counsel, do any of your clients require the services of a Mandarin interpreter?
I believe that was from yesterday because we believe that Ms. Jiang was going to be reset today. However, she bonded out, if I remember correctly, but I want to double check with the jail. Hello?
It was a
Yes.
request from yesterday, Judge. She made bond.
All right. Ms. Choi, Ms. Choi, I'm sorry, can you hear me, Ms. Choi? Yvonne Choi?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear
Alright.
me?
Yes. Ms. Choi, the defendant who required the services of a Mandarin interpreter has been released. So that would conclude your services. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You have a
Thank
great day, Your
You
Honor.
too. Thank you.
Interpreter
Alright.
is disconnecting.
Resuming with Alicia Gordon, I understand, yes, we just got her GCIC. And Ms. Sari, good afternoon. What's the state's recommendation?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. The recommendation is a $3,000 surety bond, a stay away from the incident location, no contact with the victim, 1-day anger awareness, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Briefly, this incident took place at 1550 Montreat Place in Atlanta. The defendant and the victim, whose name is Justin Gordon, he is the defendant's son. They were in a verbal dispute regarding money, and the victim went and he went to lay down, and that's when the defendant came into his room and hit him with a metal object. He did sustain bleeding to his head as a result. Your Honor, we will argue there hasn't been sufficient cooling off period. This did happen yesterday, and that the defendant does present a risk of intimidating the victim witness. Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't know if the alleged victim is on.
Justin Gordon, if you're on Zoom, please identify yourself. No, no one's responded, Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 63 years old. As pre-trial has stated, she has no significant criminal history, Your Honor, and her last arrest was in 2007 for a failure to appear. My client is disabled. She tells me that the alleged victim, her son, has lived with her all his life. Apparently, he's 33 years old at this time, Your Honor. She does admit that they were having a disagreement, they were having an argument, and she tells me that her son got up out of the bed aggressively, and she had a plastic hairbrush in her hand, and it struck him in the head. She would like to have no further violent contact with her son. This is her apartment, and incidentally, Your Honor, they are both disabled. She's on disability, and so is her son.
She would prefer no further violent contact with her son. Her name is the only one on the lease on that apartment, and she has nowhere else to go, and she tells me neither does her son. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Bond is set at $5,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. No further violent contact with Justin Gordon. She can return to the apartment, but if there's any future physical or verbal altercations with Justin Gordon, she'll be back in jail and she will need to bring $5,000 to be released from jail the next time. Ms. Gordon, presently, I'm going to release you on a $5,000 signature bond, and you will report to pretrial once a month. You will also attend and complete the anger awareness program with pretrial services. If you decide that once you get back home that you cannot live with Justin Gordon, then you would need to leave that location and find a separate place to stay. You would need to update us with your new address if you choose to do so. But keep in mind that if there's any future physical or verbal altercations with Justin Gordon, the police will rearrest you and you will lose your signature bond. And your next bond will be a $5,000 surety bond. Do you understand? No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and you're not allowed to own any weapons or firearms. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. McLeod, do you have another case?
I do, Your Honor. I have two others.
Could we identify them, please?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe it's position 4 and 5.
All right.
Mr. Dixon and
Kimberly Davis and Antonio Dixon.
no, Antonio Dixon is one, Your Honor. The other one is we did Miss Gordon, Ladell Cummings, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Who do we have in the seat, please?
This is Mr. Cummings right here, number 3.
Okay. This is Ladell, middle initial D, last name Cummings, case number 23 CR 6215C. Mr. Cummings, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Miss Maureen McLeod.
25 total. Last arrest was in August. Simple assault. On probation out of Clayton County. Possession of a firearm by convicted felon. Got an open simple assault. That's out of Clayton. Fulton County criminal damage to property, 2nd degree, cruelty in the 3rd. Looks like he has a bench warrant on his booking. Got a 2019 fade to appear, 2014 ag assault robbery, and a hold out of Jonesboro.
Is the bench warrant from the 18 SC case?
I think so, yes, because I did see this 2nd degree. Yeah.
Right. Well, presently, Mr. Cummings has been arrested on the following charges from October 13th, 2023. Hit and run, reckless driving, possession of an open alcohol container, and driving under the influence of alcohol less safe. Ms. Sowry?
Yes, Your Honor. Officers were dispatched to 90 Harper Road in Atlanta. They spoke with the victim in this case, whose name is spelled Juavon. Last name is Neely, Neely. He stated to officers that he was hit by a vehicle driven by a man that was later identified as the defendant. The defendant fled from the location in the accident without providing any driving information as required by law. He also hit another vehicle, and that vehicle was owned by the person's name is Carllier. Last name is Shy. That second vehicle followed the defendant, and that's how the defendant was apprehended. Officers did observe the defendant exhibiting clues of impairment, so a DUI investigation was conducted. The defendant refused fields, and after a search incident to arrest, it was revealed that the defendant had an open container of Paul Mason inside of his vehicle. So as we've heard from pretrial, the defendant does have a history, so he presents a risk of reoffending. He's also a danger to the community from the nature of these very charges. So the state's recommendation is an $8,000 surety bond. That's $3,000 on the DUI, $2,000 on the hit and run and the reckless, 1,000 on the open container, no contact with the victims, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 35 years old. This was a traffic-related incident, Your Honor. I understand that he does have some history, but I did not hear any history that was related to traffic. This was a traffic accident. He had an accident, that's the allegation, and that he left the scene. There, in the warrant that I saw, Your Honor, actually, someone else was arrested, one of the other drivers that he's alleged to have had an accident with, because they pulled a gun on him, which seems just like a lot to me. This was, after all, a traffic incident. Based on that, Your Honor, I would ask the court to consider giving my client a signature bond, not only because it's traffic related, but also I believe I heard Petrel say that he had 2 other holes. So he's obviously not going anywhere. I would ask the court to give him this bond and to condition it on him being released to his other holes, Your Honor. Nothing further.
And Your Honor, I did want to put his driving history on the record. He was convicted of improper lane usage back in April of this year. In 2019, he had a failure to maintain insurance. He pled NOLO. 2016, failure to obey traffic. He pled NOLO. Driving without a valid license in 2016, he pled NOLO. And in 2016, he had a license suspension. So he does have a significant driving history.
All right, thank you. On the hit and run, it's going to be a $2,000 surety. The reckless driving is going to be a $1,000 surety. The open alcohol container is a $1,000 surety. And the DUI, driving under the influence of alcohol, is going to be a $2,000 surety. Total bond is $6,000. It's a surety bond. Next court date is going to be October 26th at 9 a.m. No alcohol, no consumption of any alcoholic beverages, no illegal drugs, and no weapons or firearms, and no driving unless you have a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
Item number 5, Mr. Dixon.
This is State versus Antonio Bernard Dixon. Are you Mr. Dixon?
Yes, sir.
I beg your pardon. Are you Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Thank you. Your case number is 23 CR 6216Y. You were charged with reckless conduct from a June 5th, 2023 incident. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. McLeod. With regards to Mr. Dixon, Mr. Howard?
16 total. Last was 2020, failure to appear, probation. On probation, not a card for identity theft fraud. 2020, 2019 probation, 2018 possession of cocaine conviction, 2018 FTA probation, and 2016 theft by taking conviction.
Thank you. Ms. Sowry?
Yes, Judge. The victim in this case, her name is Kiki Hunt, and I do believe she's on the Zoom call. Officers responded to 830 Old Rocky Road in Atlanta regarding a dispute involving a gun. The victim stated that the defendant was driving a vehicle in reverse and almost hit her son's vehicle. And when she tried to stop him, he wasn't listening. The victim's son and the defendant then got into an argument, and the defendant got out of the vehicle with a firearm and began waving that gun around at the victim and others and stated that no one better touch him. Our office did speak with the victim, Your Honor. She stated that they are together and they reside at somewhere close to this incident location. She stated that she's not in fear of him. However, she did confirm the events in the warrant. She stated that she does want contact with him. However, we are recommending no contact just due to the nature of the charges, because he does present a significant danger to the community. He's a flight risk, as we've heard from pretrial regarding the FTAs. So we are asking for a $15,000 surety bond. In FFIP course, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
All right, Ms. McCall?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 43 years old. I do not understand why the state is recommending an FVIP or even a stay away. This incident allegedly happened in June, I believe, of this year.
Mhm.
It seems to me that these people are still in contact. It's just now that I am even realizing that they were actually in a relationship just based on what the warrant says. And what it does say is that my client came out of the car, he had a gun, and he said nobody should touch him. Sounds like he was just trying to defend himself. It didn't say that he pointed at anyone or made any threats or anything to anyone. I'm asking the court to give my client a signature bond and that it has no other conditions on his bond other than that he doesn't get into any more, he doesn't get arrested again or doesn't get into any more trouble. I do not understand the basis for anything else, given what the warrant is alleging. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly was reckless in his conduct. It didn't seem like he was endangering anyone. He was in a situation where other people were obviously threatening him. He felt threatened and he had his gun and he said, nobody should touch me. People are allowed to carry guns in the state of Georgia. And
Well, let's find out.
there's nothing that says, Your Honor, that he did not have a right to have his gun on him.
I believe, okay, Mr. Howard, does he have a probation matter with possession of firearm by a convicted felon?
I'm not sure. I'll look it up.
I didn't hear anything said about that, Your Honor, because I was listening myself for that.
Yeah. This is Antonio Dixon Bernard. I've got a FTA for possession of firearm by a convicted felon from October 30th, 2018.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if it's in the notes. Hold
Yeah.
on. Hold on. Oh, yeah, the 19 SC 169 555.
Yes.
Yeah, I see it on the GCIC.
Could you give me that case number again?
What is it? 19 SC 169 555.
Your Honor, based off of
Look this
that,
up real quick.
this would be a felony by operation of law, a felon in possession of a firearm. And we do agree that he's able to possess the firearm or he would have been able to if he had it legally, but you're not able to wave it around in an argument. That's very reckless.
All right. You mentioned that did you want the alleged, I'm not sure it was Kiki Hunt. Did you want a person to be sounded? Miss Kiki Hunt, if you are available on Zoom, you're free to contribute to this proceedings. Otherwise,
Yes,
oh, are you Miss Hunt?
yes, I'm here.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am, I'm here.
All right. If you like to say anything, I'll need to place you under oath.
Okay.
Yes, you would like to say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
What would you like to say?
Okay, I did not take out no warrant on him, but yes, he was backing up and he scraped my son's car. But far as I don't know, I guess the neighbor somebody called because it was people outside. And we've been together 7 years and we've been staying together for 7 years. So he's not no threat to me. I didn't know that they had took no warrant in there out until yesterday. I got a call saying that he got pulled up in my car and that his friend had my car and I can come and get it. But I'm in Macon now at my son's. So I had my girlfriend to go to his friend's house and pick my car up.
I'm sorry, Miss
Hunt.
Miss Hunt. So you're not afraid of him, and you like to have contact with him.
No.
Is that what you're saying? Could you tell me then?
Yes,
Explain to me what are you trying to tell me?
We've been together 7 years. No, I'm not afraid of him.
And do you want
Like
contact with
him and
him?
my sons. Yes, he stayed with me.
Okay, understood. All right, thank you.
That
That's what
19 SC case was non-pros.
Okay, but does he have a felony conviction on his record?
Yeah, he got a 2000 armed robbery conviction and a felony theft by taking from 2016.
Okay,
That's 16 SC 144839.
understood. Thank you. Mr. Dixon, your bond is going to be set at $6,500. It's going to be a surety bond. You're to have no further violent contact with Kiki Hunt, which is KEKEHUNT. You're not to possess any weapons, any firearms. By law, you're not authorized to be in possession of a firearm or firearm on your person, in your vehicle, anywhere near you, or in your home. So your next court date is going to be October 26th at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
sorry, Your Honor. Can you give me that bond amount again?
6,500 surety bond.
Thank you.
No further violent contact with Kiki Hunt. And Ms. Sowry, if the state is planning to transfer the case, please submit that order to Ms. Champion.
I will, Your Honor. Thank you.
Next case, who do we have, please?
Number one, Mr. Brandon.
All right. This is State versus Archie Brandon, accused of battery, family violence, and simple battery, family violence from October 13th, 2023. Case number is 23 CR 6208B. Mr. Brandon, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Angelo Dodis. I have a GCIC indicating 35 cycles. Anything else, Mr. Howard?
Last arrest 2013, probation. On probation out of Douglas for burglary. In 2005, they gave him a 20-year sentence, 8 to serve, 12 probated. 2012, failure to appear, 2012 probation. That's it.
All right, thank you. Ms. Sowry?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident took place at 464 Cameron Madison Alexander Boulevard in Atlanta. Officers were dispatched out regarding a domestic dispute. The victim in this case, her name is Jacqueline Goldston. That's GHOLSTON. She stated that she and the defendant were in a verbal dispute when the defendant grabbed her by the wrist, which caused a bruise, and then he pushed her against multiple walls. The victim's grandson, who I'll give his initials because I'm not sure whether he's a minor or not, the initials are ZG. He also informed officers that he witnessed the events take place. Our office did speak with the victim. She stated that this isn't the first incident of violence. In the last couple of months, the defendant threw a vase at her. She also said that the defendant had anger problems and that she is afraid of him. So we are asking for no contact with the victim, a stay away, $5,000 surety bond, that's $3,000 on the battery family violence, $2,000 on the simple battery family violence, a one-day anger awareness course, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Well, thank you. Is there a Jacqueline Goldston on the Zoom? All right, Mr. Dodis?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Brandon is 73 years old. He is a lifelong resident of the state of Georgia. I do have a good contact number for Mr. Brandon. His current address was the incident location, but he has provided me with his sister's contact information, Elaine Jackson. He believes that he can stay there if he is unable to return to the incident location. He is currently married to the alleged victim. They have one child together and 4 grandkids and 4 great-grandkids. And Mr. Brandon hopes to have the opportunity to reconcile with Ms. Goldston. We understand that the state has been in contact with the alleged victim. We would request at least a one-time sheriff's escort so that Mr. Brandon can retrieve all of his personal belongings and plan his next move. Mr. Brandon is currently receiving SSI each month, and that's his only source of income. So we would just request a signature bond. And as we heard from pretrial, his last arrest was in 2013. So no new alleged crimes within the last 10 years. And I don't believe I heard any FTAs or VOPs past 2012. So I don't believe he's a danger to recommit. He's clear that while he does want to repair his relationship, he understands that at this time he'll likely have to have no further contact. But again, he is clear on that, and he is going to work on a separate place to go. But as he cannot afford bond, and given his age, we would just request a signature bond.
Mr. Brandon will receive a split bond. On the battery family violence, it's going to be 5,000 signature bond for pretrial. On the simple battery, it's going to be a $1,500 surety bond. Total bond is going to be $6,500. It is a split bond. He can sign out for the bond, the $5,000 bond, but he would need to post a $1,500 bond for the simple battery domestic violence. No further contact with Jacqueline Golston to stay away from 464 Cameron Addison Long Name Boulevard, and no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. He's allowed a one-time visit to the family home with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings, and that visit cannot exceed 1 hour. Within 30 days of being released on bond, he must update the court with his new address in writing, and he's to attend and complete the anger awareness program with the Fulton County Pretrial Services. His next court date is October 26th. If he makes bond, then his next court date will be mailed to him at his current address, whichever he provides. Thank you.
Per judge.
Yes. Yes.
And we got number 2, Mr. Bullock.
This is State versus Jeremiah Lamont Bullitt, 23 CR 6209E, accused of criminal trespass from October 13th, 2023. Mr. Bullitt, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Dotis. Any, I have 31 arrest cycles.
Habitual trespasser.
All right, thank you. Ms. Sowry?
Yes, Judge. This incident took place at the Premier, and that's located at 1935 Allison Court in Atlanta. The defendant entered into apartment B10 without consent from the management, and he was not a resident. As we've heard, there is a significant history of criminal trespass in this defendant's history. The state's going to recommend a signature bond through the jail, stay away, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Any objection to a signature bond through the jail, Mr. Dotis?
No objection, Your Honor.
Right. Bond is set at $2,000. It's a signature bond through the jail to stay away from the entire apartment complex at 1935 Allison Court, not just one apartment, the entire apartment complex. If he returns to the location, he will be arrested again for trespass, and the signature bond will be revoked and converted to either a cash bond or a surety bond. Thank you.
Yes, we got number 7, Mr. Graham.
All right. Can anybody advise me on what's going on with position 4, Kimberly Davis?
Your Honor, I've waived Ms. Davis's presence after speaking with her. I'm happy to address it in a breakout room once we have a moment.
All right, we'll address that. Thank you. This is position 7, Greg Graham. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Graham is accused of 2 counts of criminal trespass. The accusation is 23 CR 6218Y, and the incident date is October 13th, 2023. Mr. Graham, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Dodis.
12 total. Last
Okay,
arrest was 2021, possessing of drug-related objects. 2019, resisting officer, public peace. 2018, possession of drug-related objects. And a 2017, failure to appear.
thank you. Ms. Sari?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident took place at the Ebenezer Baptist Church at 407 Auburn Avenue. Employees at the incident location reported to officers that the defendant consistently comes to the church and he loiters all the time. He has even charged tourists to park at the incident location, and he doesn't have permission or authority to do such. On this date, he was asked several times to leave and he refused. So the state's going to recommend a $2,000 surety bond. That's $1,000 on each count, a stay away, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Mr. Dodis?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Graham is 61 years old. I didn't hear any FTAs or VOPs within the last 5 years. Mr. Graham did provide me with contact information for his mother, Magnolia Agee. He also provided me with her address, which he did provide that address, but I believe they left off the apartment number, which I will put in the chat. But Mr. Graham believes that he can return there, or excuse me, upon release, return to live with his mother to get everything back on track. He is a lifelong resident of the state of Georgia. He's currently on SSI and cannot afford any monetary bond, so we would request a signature bond. He's also been informed about his FTA that will continue to hold him. So we would request that they track together and be addressed at the 1026 SAP calendar.
Understood. Is $500 surety bond on each count, a total of $1,000 surety bond? Stay away from the Ebenezer Baptist Church. Unfortunately, Mr. Graham will have to find a different church to go and exercise his right of religion, but he cannot return to the Ebenezer Baptist Church. And he has to stay 200 yards away, which means he has to keep a distance of at least 2 football fields away from that particular church. His next court date is going to be October 26th, and we're going to reset this case as well as the other open case, which is 22 CR 006221Y. I guess Mr. Dodis, your client wants to say something, courtroom 2.
And Mr. Graham, we'll come and see you at the jail if you have any questions.
I have one problem. Where did the FTA come from? Fulton County. I haven't had any.
You've got an open case for disorderly conduct from an incident of December 31st, 2021. You failed to appear in court on December 15th, 2022. The case is before, it's an Orca case, so I guess you got a bench warrant for failure to appear.
I haven't been here since 17. I haven't had any incident at Fulton County.
But that would be incorrect, sir, and your attorney will be glad to advise you.
Yes, Mr. Graham, we'll come and speak in person and clear everything up.
Thank you.
And this got number 8, Mr. Higgins.
State versus Martez Higgins, accused of criminal trespass from an October 13th, 2023 incident. The accusation number is 23 CR 6219G. Mr. Higgins, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Dodis. And from what I gather, Mr. Higgins has got 15 arrest cycles. It looks like quite a few from other jurisdictions. Mr. Howard?
Last arrest was in April out of California for trespass, occupy property without consent. Another 2023 trespass, 2022 attempted burglary, a couple of 2022 trespasses, 2016 theft conviction, 2016 disorderly conduct conviction.
Thank you.
That's all.
Ms. Sowry?
Your Honor, this incident took place at the Hilton Atlanta, and that's located at 255 Cortlandt Street. The defendant had previously been criminally trespassed on September 8th of this year. And then on the 12th of October, he returned to the incident location and allegedly assaulted a housekeeper. And then this incident took place on the 13th, the next day. He was seen again on the premises despite the criminal trespass. And as you mentioned, Your Honor, the state is actually concerned about his ties to the community due to the open cases in multiple jurisdictions. So the recommendation will be a $1,000 surety bond, a stay away, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Mr. Dotis, any objection?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, Ms. Sari, could you repeat the recommendation?
Yes, it was a $1,000 surety.
Yes, Your Honor, we would object to that and would like to be heard.
Go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Higgins is 31 years old. As we heard, he does have past cycles, but many of them relate to his issues being residentially challenged. Regarding his ties to the community, he was born and raised in Carrollton, Georgia. And for the past few years, my understanding is traveling and trying to land on his feet. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, and he's come closer back to home to have family support. His family does still live in Carroll County, and he's hoping that he'll be able to get back on his feet with family support. He is financially responsible for a 2-year-old child who I believe lives with the mother. Right now, he's just working odd jobs, but he does plan to remain in the community. At this point in time, he cannot afford any monetary bond, and he is aware that he does have a foreign county hold. So, Your Honor, we would request a signature bond so that he can be released to deal with that hold and then come back and deal with this case.
Right. The bond set at $1,000. It's a surety bond. Next court date's October 26th, and he has to stay 500 yards away, not 200, 500 yards away from the Hilton Hotel at 255. Did I get the right address? 255 Cortlandt Street?
Yes, that's correct, Judge.
Okay. Atlanta, Georgia. No illegal drugs and no weapons and no firearms. Thank you.
Number 9, Mr. McBride is next.
State v. Jahan McBride under accusation 23 CR 6221F. Mr. McBride has been booked in on the following 4 charges: failure to obey traffic control devices, willful obstruction of an officer, and 2 counts of giving false information to a law enforcement officer. And Mr. McBride, you have the right to remain silent as advised, and your attorney is Mr. Dotis. I understand he's got 12 arrest cycles in the past.
2022 sale of marijuana. Got to open 6 counts of entering auto theft by taking trespass in Superior Court. 2020. That's 22 CP 207412. That was a hold out of Maryland. I'm not sure if they come in possession of cocaine. 2019, 2020 shoplifting, 2020 burglary, 2017 to 18 failure to appear, 2015 simple assault, family violence. That's it.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Sari?
Yes, Your Honor. Officers conducted a traffic stop on the defendant for running a red light on Cascade Road. When asked for his driver's license, the defendant stated he did not have it and provided a name of Jeremiah McBride and a date of birth of December 30th, 1999, which neither are his true identifying information. When the information came back invalid, the defendant was ID'd by his fingerprint, which revealed that warrant that pretrial just mentioned out of Montgomery County. The defendant was then placed under arrest, and while he was being searched, he attempted to flee on foot. The state's recommendation, due to the history of him being a multi-state offender, is a $2,500 surety. That's $1,000 on the obstruction, $500 on each remaining count. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Mr. Dotis?
Mr. McBride is 28 years old. He is a lifelong resident of the state of Georgia. He did head up north where he attended school at Wild Tech, Pennsylvania. He has since returned. He's currently working in odd jobs and cleaning, but he did go to school as a diesel mechanic, and he's hopeful that he can work towards finally securing his dream job. I have a stable address for him. It is the address in the booking sheet. I will note that that is missing the apartment number. It's apartment 59, which I'll provide in the chat to make sure that he is getting his mail. He is married to a Miss Jenna McBride. They have 3 children together, 7 years old, 5 years old, and 3 years old. He does financially support those children. So he does have ties to the community with Miss McBride, as well as his cousin, Marquavius Smith, who I have contact information for. At this time, as he's just working odd jobs, he cannot financially afford any monetary bonds. So we would just request a signature bond, as he will also is expecting the Maryland hold. So we would want to make sure that he is released to that hold.
All right, thank you. Each count is going to be $500. That's a $2,000 surety bond. No further driving unless he's got a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration. The license must be in his company at all times when operating a vehicle. No illegal drugs, no weapons and no firearms. Next court date is October 26th. Thank you.
Number 10, Mr. Mitchell.
This is State versus Marvin Mitchell, accusation number 23 CR 6222Y. Mr. Mitchell has been accused of battery, family violence, and simple assault, family violence from an October 11th, 2023 incident. Mr. Mitchell, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Dodis. I understand this is his 7th arrest.
2019 ag assault, battery and ag battery, first offender.
Okay.
See something real quick. Yeah, that's 19 SC 172115. The battery, they gave him 12 months suspended sentence. The ag battery, they gave him 1 year, so that would have timed out in 2020. That's all.
All right, thank you. Ms. Reddick?
Good morning, Your Honor. This incident was alleged to have occurred at 3041 Bayard, Bayard Street in East Point, Atlanta. The victim in this case is a Mr. Ricky Rhodes, who is 60 years old. And currently, there is no bond on this case. Your Honor, officers responded to the above location, met with Mr. Rhodes, who has been living in that same location with the defendant for the past 2 years. Mr. Rhodes advised that the defendant had been drinking and entered the bedroom yelling at him while he was lying down. Mr. Rhodes asked the defendant to leave the bedroom multiple times without success. The defendant began to approach Mr. Rhodes in an aggressive manner, which caused the victim to stand up. Upon standing, the defendant attacked Mr. Rhodes by punching him and striking him multiple times in the face. The gentleman continued to tussle, and ultimately Mr. Rhodes fell and hit his head on a coffee table. Officers observed visible injuries to Mr. Rhodes' face and head. Your Honor, this defendant, from our information, previously had a family violence battery case out of Florida in 2001. And then we also do show the aggravated assault and aggravated battery out of Fulton County in 2019. While the victim is being interviewed, he did advise law enforcement that this was not the first time the defendant had attacked him. They definitely lived together, so we have concerns of witness intimidation. We also have concerns with ties to the community, as the defendant has three previous convictions out of the state of Florida. Our recommendation at this time, Your Honor, on the battery family violence, because of prior incidents, to include this one, we would ask for a $2,500 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, Mr. Rhodes, stay away from the incident location, alcohol drug evaluation, screening and treatment, 1-day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. On the simple assault, we would just ask for the same additional $2,500 surety for a total of 5,000, not 500,000, Judge, I'm sorry. 5,000 surety bond.
Couple more zeros. Okay. Mr. Doris, what do you think?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Mitchell is 65 years old. As we heard through pretrial, his last arrest cycle was in 2019, where his first offender was used. He has been in the state of Georgia for the past 15 years. He does have ties to the community, including his ex-wife, Della Mitchell, his daughter, Karen Carlos, and his oldest daughter, Shaniqua Mitchell, who I have contact information for all of them. Through Miss Mitchell, he does have the two grown daughters that live in the community. He's currently he cannot afford a monetary amount of bond. His only income is through SSI. Additionally, he does dispute the facts alleged in the warrant. My client stated that their landlord came to him and asked him to pass on a message to his roommate, the alleged victim. When he passed on that message, I believe it was regarding bills, the alleged victim got into a yelling match with my client. My client did not feel safe, and he was the one who dialed 911, which is not in the report, but we will, of course, request that 911 call. When my client called 911, the alleged victim grabbed and destroyed my client's phone and then escalated the situation, making it physical. My client wanted it to be known that he is 5'8" and 180 pounds, and the alleged victim is 6'6" and 280 pounds. And all he was trying to do was defend himself. Additionally, in the report, the alleged victim advised that he did not want Mr. Mitchell arrested and does not want to press charges against him. I'm not sure if the state has had further contact with the alleged victim, but as this is where Mr. Mitchell resides, we would request no further violent contact, a signature bond, so he can return to that location. If it's no further contact, we would request a one-time sheriff's escort. He is going to struggle with finding housing, but he will reach out to his family. But he cannot. Given that, we would just still push for the signature bond so that if he needs to find separate housing, he will not be as financially burdened.
We have a Lithonia address on him. Is that now changed or?
Your Honor, my understanding was that is his mailing address.
So is that still his mailing address? The one in Whittendale Road?
Your Honor, when I spoke with my client, that was an address where I believe it might be one of his daughter's addresses, but he wasn't clear if he could return there. He needs to make a phone call, but at this time, he says that can remain a mailing address.
On the battery family violence, it's going to be 3,500. On the simple assault, it's going to be 1,500. And that's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial. I guess PJ per judge. He will have to report to pretrial once a month. He will need to attend and complete the anger awareness program. He's not allowed to consume any alcohol and no illegal drugs and not allowed to own any weapons or firearms. He will be subject to random screens by pretrial services for alcohol and or illegal drugs. He's to have no contact with Ricky Rhodes. That's RICKIE, Rhodes, RHODES, and stay away from the 3041 Bayard Street location in East Point, Georgia. Within 30 days of being released, he must update and confirm his mailing address with the court, as his case will be further noticed to the next court date. If he fails to appear at his next court date, or if he gets arrested again or fails to report to pretrial, his signature bond will be revoked and a warrant will be issued for his arrest.
He was recommended.
Sorry?
I said he was recommended.
Oh.
Your Honor, could we also get the a one-time sheriff's escort to that?
Sorry, yes. He is allowed a one-time visit to the 3041 Bayard location at Unit A. to retrieve his personal belongings. That visit must be in the company of a police officer, and that visit cannot exceed 1 hour to retrieve his personal belongings.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, courtroom 2, did Mr. Mitchell want to say something? Otherwise, we can move on.
It's gonna take more, it's gonna take more, if I'm able to do this, it's gonna take more than an hour. I have a lot of equipment around there and a whole house full of, I have washers, dryers, refrigerators, televisions, TVs, I have a whole house full of stuff.
If you go, you need to bring a moving service and a U-Haul truck.
What's the moving service? Hire some men?
Yep.
I'm on a fixed income.
Mr. Mitchell? That's the ruling of the court. Thank you.
Number 13, Mr. Wells. Wells.
State v. Lorenzo Wells, case number 23 CR 6210F. Mr. Wells is accused of battery, family violence, and simple assault, family violence from March 26, 2023. Mr. Wells, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim.
7 total. Last was 2014 driving. He was recommended.
All right. Ms. Reddick?
Your Honor, this incident is alleged to have occurred on March 26th, 2023. The address is 5506 Webb Bridge Court in Alpharetta. The victim in this case is a Miss Imani, I-M-A-N-I, last name Wells, the biological daughter of the defendant. Officers responded to the above location. They met with Miss Wells. She had visible injuries to her extremities. Miss Wells advised that she had returned home after being out all night. When questioned by her father, she initially lied. When questioned again, the defendant had in his hand a wooden object or stick. It looked like it was a part of a tree limb. And before the victim was able to respond to his second round of questioning, he began to strike her with the wooden stick. He fled the scene before law enforcement could arrive, and that is when the victim called the police. Your Honor, our biggest concern is that there is a potential for witness intimidation, as the victim is his daughter. She was 17 at the time, and it appeared that they were living in the same household. The the defendant also has convictions for possession of marijuana and driving on suspended license. He does have a probation violation from 2012. The state is respectfully requesting, Your Honor, since he is recommended, a $2,500 signature bond on the battery family violence. No further contact with this young lady. Stay away from the incident location. 1-day anger awareness. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. On the simple assault, Your Honor, we're asking for a $1,500 signature bond. So total bond of $4,000 through pretrial services.
All right. And Ms. Kim, I'm just going to sound out for Imani Wells, or anyone here on behalf of Mr. Lorenzo Wells. All right, Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, we have no objection to signature on bond. However, I would like to request for no further violent contact for the best interest of the daughter. Actually, she is 17 years old still, IW, she's still minor. After this incident happened about 7 months ago, they still live together. She has no other place to go because she was actually removed from her mother's place as well. It is not my client who has no place to go. It is her who has no other place to go. So we ask for a signature on bond through pretrial service with no further violent contact. My client is gainfully employed. He works at window replacement company for more than 1.5 years. He's got a stable job and he has been responsible paying for the child support. His last arrest was for driving violence, Your Honor. So he does not have anything else. Thank you.
On the battery family violence is going to be $2,000. On the simple assault is one. That's a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. No further violent contact with Imani Wells. He may return to the Webb Bridge Road location. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. So if he owns any weapons or firearms, they must be surrendered to the police for destruction. His next court date will be sent to his current address. I just need to confirm, is it 5508 or 5506?
Or 6, Your Honor.
We have two addresses on Odyssey, 5508 and 5506.
5506.
Is the correct address?
No. Yes, ma'am.
All right, so 5506. Mr. Jordan and Ms. Champion, we need to correct his address on the booking sheet. Your next court date will be sent to the 5506 location. And if you don't show up in court, or if you do not report to pretrial, or if you get arrested again, the signature bond will be revoked and converted to a cash bond or a surety bond. This is an open active case against you, sir, and you need to make sure you respond to the summons when it's sent to your address. Thank you.
Tiffany number 14, Mr. Weston.
Good afternoon. Your case number, sir, is 23 CR 6214Y. This is State versus Stephen Lewis Weston, accused of battery from October 13th, 2023. Mr. Weston, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. And with regards to Mr. Weston, I see this is his 22nd arrest.
Correct. I got a open battery DV. It's 23 CR. Hold on, real quick.
002173Y.
Yeah.
Same victim, Your Honor.
He got some assault on females out of another state, but they were dismissed. That's all. And a 2020 resistant officer.
So he's got a case in Union City and this DV case in state court. Okay, thank you.
City is driving without a valid license.
Ms. Reddick?
Your Honor, this incident is alleged to have occurred at 898 Oak Street Northwest, apartment 1413 in Atlanta, Georgia. Our victim is Malisha, Malisha Thongvilay, Thongvilay. Officers responded to above location and encountered the victim, noticed that she had visible injuries to her face. The victim advised that the defendant was her boyfriend at the time, although they did not live together and did not share a child. Victim stated that the defendant had asked her for sex and she declined. The defendant began calling her names. The victim lay on the sofa and she advised the defendant told her to leave. When the victim called for a ride, the defendant approached her while she was still lying on the sofa, punched her in the face multiple times and demanded that she leave. The defendant then walked the victim outside to the gate of the apartment complex and left her there, at which point the victim called law enforcement. Your Honor, in addition to the open case that the defendant has an FTA on for assaulting the same victim in Fulton County, he has a history out of North Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia. We absolutely believe this gentleman to be a flight risk. Additionally, we believe to be a danger to the community and a risk of witness intimidation. In his open case in state court, he has a provision that says no further contact with this victim. And so we are respectfully requesting, Your Honor, on this new case, a $7,500 surety bond. Again, no further contact with this victim, one-day anger awareness class, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while on bond.
All right, thank you. I don't know if Ms. Malish Tongnieli is present, but Ms. Kim, what's the defense's position?
Yes, Your Honor, we would like to request for maximum $1,000 good bond. My client, Mr. Weston, is 41 years old and he was born and raised here in Georgia. Your Honor, that place, 898 Oak Street, is his place actually, and she does not reside there. So we would like to return to the place one time only with a law enforcement officer to verify that she's not there. Then we want to make sure he can return. Your Honor, my client says that she was completely drunken and he denies the allegation. He's married right now. He has been harassed by Miss Militia. That's what my client is claiming. He has bachelor's degree from Southern New Hampshire University. And he's also pursuing his master's degree for clinical mental health. He's qualified for public defender services since he is a full-time student without making any income right now. We would like to request for $1,000 good bond, Your Honor. And I just want to clarify about the militia, because they have a two different spelling with A and without A. So.
And that I cannot explain.
So other than that, we have no other request. Mr. Weston, I strongly recommend you to stay silent. You have a right to remain silent. It is your constitutional right. We don't want to hurt your case at all.
So according to the warrant, it looks like the alleged victim went to the defendant's place.
Yes, Your Honor, that's why we didn't ask for a stay away from that location, because we recognize that is not her home.
Right. And that apparently she was able to enter the premises according to the warrant.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. On the battery charge, it's going to be a $5,000 surety bond. Next court date is October 26th. He may return to his Oak Street location, but have no further contact with Malish Tongbile or Tongdiali, either one. I don't know which spelling is correct. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no firearms. And unfortunately, he won't be able to even bond out because he's got a bench warrant from his, as mentioned by the prosecutor, in the case before Judge Edie, and his next court date with Judge Edie is December 6, 2023. He had a failure to appear before Judge Edie on July 27th, 2023. So he would need to confer with that.
Yes.
All right. Yes. If you want to unmute, Mr. Weston, you've been advised of your right to remain silent.
What was that failure to appear for, ma'am? I don't know what I had to go to court for then.
Well, do you want me to go with that?
To explain to you, I'll call the jail to explain to you, Mr. Weston.
So when do I be able, I have to stay in jail until December the 6th?
To you later.
Okay, because I start school on December 4th and I was never aware that I had a failure to appear in July, because the only other case that I had to appear before was the case for the simple battery, a simple argument.
So I'm going to stop you right now before you step into it. But right now on the open active case in which you received a $1,000 good bond, you had listed your address as 24-312 Plantation Drive.
Yes, ma'am.
If you moved to another location, that address was never updated.
Yes, and they said that they were going to send me a letter in the mail to let me know when my.
Mr. Weston, I'm just giving you the big picture. We don't have a current address on you for the case in which you received a bench warrant for failure to appear. The address was never updated, and you're responsible for making sure that you come down to the clerk's office and update your address in writing. Nobody sends you a letter. We only send you a letter based on your current mailing address. And what we have in that case with Judge Edie is the wrong address, because apparently you changed, but you didn't let the court know.
So I'll be going to staying in jail until December the 6th.
No, you have a bond right now from this new case for $5,000 surety bond.
Mhm.
And let me see what bond did Judge Edie set on the bench warrant.
Yes, ma'am.
By the way, Ms. Champion, we can reset both cases to the SAP calendar as well.
I'm sorry about all this. I just didn't understand what we were doing.
I don't see a bond set on the bench warrant. So we can address that on the 26th of October. And Ms. Kim, you can see if Judge Edie is willing to let the SAP court address the bench warrant, or they want to address any other options.
Sure.
All right, but we will reset both cases to October 26th, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we got number 15, Mr. Willie.
All right, thank you. Mr. Timothy Allen Willie is case number 23 CR 6213C. And we can pause the live stream, please.